This meeting to order. Aaron, proof of giving public notice?
That notices were posted at both schools, sent to the village of Dickeyville. Or should we call?
I should do
Do roll call first.
Okay, Mueller. Here. White.
Here.
Schrader.
Here.
Hinderman. Here. Pohl.
Here.
Bowden.
Here.
Andrews.
Hey, Wall.
Can you hear me okay?
He's here.
Virtually.
Let me turn up the volume so you can hear. Okay, now, got it.
All present.
Yep, sent to Village of Dickeyville, Cuba City City Hall, members of the media on Tuesday, September 19th. Properly posted.
Thank you, Aaron. Consideration of the consent agenda.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Any items that anybody would like to pull and have further discussion on? If not, could I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I will second. Mueller.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Hinderman. Yes. Pohl.
Yep.
Bowden.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Our administrative reports. Troy,
Thank you.
up first.
Fall parent teacher conferences will take place next week. Conferences will be held Wednesday evening and Friday morning. Parents have the option to participate virtually or in person to discuss all the great learning and hard work that has taken place. A big thank you to all parents and staff for their working together to help their students succeed. Also, a quick thank you to our PTO for providing the wonderful dinner Wednesday evening. Fire Prevention Week is the week of October 9th. We'll be welcoming the Cuba City Fire Department on the 11th of October for a fire prevention presentation and a look at some of their equipment and fire trucks. On Thursday, October 12th, we'll be hosting a Muffins with Mom or a VIP breakfast event. Mothers or a very important person will have the opportunity to eat breakfast with their children in the cafeteria. We had a wonderful turnout last year for our event and look forward to both the mothers or the VIPs. Our book fair will be the week of September 25th through 28th. Times will be 8:15 to 4 p.m., except for Wednesday evening. On Wednesday evening, it will be till 8 p.m. to coincide with our parent-teacher conferences. A big thank you to Sharon Olson for all of her hard work for this great event. The elementary school PTO will be holding a clothing drive on Sunday, October 1st from 8 to 1 p.m. This is a community outreach event where the opportunity will be given for individuals to donate clothes and or shop for lightly used clothes. The clothing drive will be held in the elementary gymnasium, And then finally, I'd like to thank the elementary staff on a great start to the school year. We're halfway through the first quarter and everyone has done an amazing job. We've had a lot of moving parts, new initiatives, and staff members going above and beyond to ensure our students have had a positive learning experience while attending school. So I want to say thank you, staff. That's it.
Thank you. Middle and high school principal report, Mr. Sander.
You bet. I want to start out by thanking Dan and Angela Belkin for bringing their puppies in for a much appreciated Cuban Paws Day. Students and staff alike had a lot of fun playing with the puppies. Football, volleyball, cross country, and girls golf are all having great seasons. Part of it is the amazing weather we've been having, and part of it is we just have amazing student athletes. Girls golf has begun their postseason tournament with a conference meet yesterday, and we have regionals happening next Wednesday. So we wish good luck to our lady, or good skill to our Lady Cubans. We had another successful homecoming this year. Students enjoyed hypnotist, powder puff volleyball, powder puff football, a mock crash, and a visit from the Grant County District Attorney Ian Nicholson. K-9 officers Zach Lovell and Thor presented to students, and I was able to go a couple rounds with Thor to demonstrate how they apprehend suspects that are less than cooperative. Came out somewhat unscathed. We ended the week with a beanbag tournament, a lip sync contest, and a parade. Cross country team ran the game ball into the football team, who then used it to secure a win for our Cubans. Our band provided music at the game and performed songs by the rock band Queen as they performed a halftime marching band routine. Saturday night, almost all of our students attended the homecoming dance. Our students donated 1,200 items, including toilet paper, soap, body wash, toothbrushes, toothpaste for our toilet paper the school, which was delivered Monday morning to Family Advocates, and that was the note that kind of came around of Platteville, which is a homeless shelter for victims of abuse. Huge thank you to all the wonderful staff at Cuba City for everything they did this past week to ensure that our students had an enjoyable and safe homecoming. Thank you to Matt Andrews for allowing Miss Van Scandal's wildlife class to use his land to go fishing. We would like to welcome Adam Dixon as our new Assistant Building and Grounds Director, Robert Hooks as our new second shift custodian, and Kristen Kemis as our new middle school and high school paraprofessional. Miss Merwin's classes are cooking again with the installation of 2 new gas ovens. The senior English classes were able to travel to the American Players Theater yesterday to see Romeo and Juliet. The play featured a deaf actor in the role of Romeo, which just happens to coincide with Deaf and Hard of Hearing Week that is recognized this week. Phi-Ed students are enjoying biking unit right now with the warm weather. Mr. Kopp's engineering class designed and drafted shelves for the new football trailer. Then his construction class ordered, built, and installed the shelves. Mr. Cundy and his Spanish 1 students were creating speaking skits, and Mrs. Austin's students have their Cuban take and bake pizzas and coffee delivery up and running. We currently have 23 students signed up to take the PSAT, which is tied to the National Merit Scholarship, and National Honor Society is scheduled to do some highway cleanup on Highway 80 between Weber Meats and the former Elmo Club. We received a thank you note from Miss Connie Gronimus as Coach Kopp and the football team took time to help her move some of her items from her garage rafters down to the floor. She was needing to clean out the house to move, and it's always great to hear when our students are helping out in the community. And that's this month.
Thank you, Mr. Sander. I see that Heather and Deb are not here. Aaron, do you have reports for them?
No, they don't have reports.
Okay. All right. Superintendent report.
Yep, since our last meeting, we had some big news. We were selected as one of the 6 projects in the nation to move on to the finalist round for FEMA's Building Infrastructure and Resilient Communities Grant for a Safe Room. This means that the Wisconsin Department of Emergency Management, as long as they don't find anything wrong with the area we want to build, which is our current parking lot, they'll do an environmental and historical significance study. As long as that goes well, and we anticipate that it will, we would be granted that $8.8 million towards making the gym a safe house. This would help offset the total cost of the gym box by several $1 million. Our new gymnasium will be built as a community safe room, which means it would be able to withstand 250 mile per hour winds. So you can see probably the roof and the walls will be built very differently. Later in this meeting, we'll be talking about possible projects to add to our existing building project. This is potentially great news for our district and for our community. As I've stated the past few months, this year and next year, in almost all of Wisconsin public schools, we'll be facing a fiscal cliff. For us, that's this year, not next year. Over the past 7 school years, we've been able to present a balanced budget 6 of those 7 years. The 1 year we didn't, we agreed to go over budget to purchase new boilers. In all of those years, we started out hundreds of thousands of dollars over budget, but we're able to present a balanced budget. And in the majority of those years, we're also able to finish under budget and add to either our fund balance or our Fund 46 account, which we recently used to purchase the land off of County Highway H. Usually in July and August, we pull over the previous year's budget into a new one, then begin prioritizing what funds are being used where. Then in September, we're usually going through each line item. There are about 8,000 line items in our budget. We go through that with a fine-tooth comb, and we're finding smaller savings here or there to try to balance the budget. This year, I've been prepping you all for this. It's going to be different. We are hundreds of thousands of dollars from a balanced budget. We are not the only school in Wisconsin that is facing this right now. And we do not anticipate presenting you with anything resembling a balanced budget in October. In short, it comes down to a revenue problem and an inflation problem together. ESSER dollars have run out, and we received the state minimum for ESSER 3. And we used a lot of that. Basically, around over $650,000 in grants last year were used to balance the budget, where other schools in our own CISA received 4 to 6 times what we received, as we received a state minimum. Within the 2 years of no increases in per pupil expenditures and record inflation, we're paying more for supplies and trying to ensure that our staff are being taken care of with larger than average, but still below CPI level salary increases. Staffing benefits always go up, and they did this year as well. I'm sorry, that's supposed to say benefits go up. Our staff did increase by a few students due to increased student counts. We increased three new teachers in some grades and because of certain needs of students. The hard part of all of this is that we're building a beautiful building and taking up upcoming projects to add to that later today. But we're talking about two separate items here. We're not able to use referendum construction dollars for the bill that were approved for a building project for a regular budget. They're two separate buckets. We did pass a $200,000 operating referendum that helps offset the $650,000 in grants, but there's still a big deficit. While we will have some fun conversations about building projects this year, we will also have to have some difficult conversations about prioritizing upcoming fiscal or financial decisions. In working with Baird on this year's budget, we know that many schools all over Wisconsin are dealing with the exact same thing because our state legislature chose this path for us, sitting on record levels of rainy day surplus account. That's my report.
Thank you, Aaron. Next item on the agenda then is discussion about additional scope items of
We go from
our
bad,
building project.
from really bad news to the good news, and this was my day today. The first half of the day was working on the budget. Second half of the day was talking about additional projects. So it was that's that kind of day today. So we just want to turn to that page or bring that up here. I asked the school board to rank the 18 possible projects, and they weren't too different than the administrative priorities, especially the top 4 or 5. But if we're looking at those, and we can kind of go down through them, we're getting to some better cost estimates now. That was what we did today, this afternoon. But I went through, starting with, if any of you are looking online, make sure you go to the board rankings tab on the bottom. And it lists 1 through 18 based on your priority. So top priority from the board was Performing Arts Center, followed by elementary school cafeteria kitchen addition, although several board members did say renovation, not addition on the form somewhere. So we can talk about that. Additional classroom spaces, new track and field, artificial turf. And those were kind of the top 4. Then we dropped down to middle school HVAC improvements, new face space, library renovation, getting rid of all the elementary school portable walls, elementary school library addition, addition of a softball field on campus, elementary school STEM or STEAM room. There are some flooring replacements on here. A total roof replacement is on here. And then we go down to the bottom 4 that had fewer votes were playground equipment, outdoor concession stand updates, or a new addition to that. Replace middle school flooring as that's only 5 years old. And then a current pool in the fitness center. So those are the things that were prioritized from 1 through 18. When I met with our core planning team today, and that includes our construction manager, Epic, and our architects at Bray, we went through this and just said, this is our first attempt at this. Basically all board members, it was 7 for 7, had Performing Arts Center first. That gives them a lot to start kind of working on. But we'll want to work our way through this as we get closer with budget, and as we get closer with what we have to do for FEMA. So yeah, we got $8.8 million, but a lot of that has to go into, okay, our gym box is going to cost X. To make that FEMA strong, it's going to be X plus something, and that's what we use that for as well. So it's 8.8. We don't get $8.8 million of new projects. It'll be probably closer to 6, which is still a really good number. So what we want to kind of do is discuss these today. So if anybody wants to take a look at those board rankings and either ask questions or share their take on something, I think the only thing we can look at and say this is the Performing Arts Center was everybody's top pick. We have a general drawing for that with our architects. They're going to start getting to work on that a little more. It's going to be modeled off of Potosi's with about the dimensions. It's about 500 seats. We figured that would take care of all middle school students, high school students, middle school staff, high school staff. They could all be in one place. So that's where we got that, and that's what we're shooting for. So today, when you meet with architects and construction managers, they had a way of saying, okay, if you want to do this, here's a way we could get these other two things done kind of within the same package. And it's really good to hear those different things because I'm not a builder, and they've done that a lot more than any of us have. And so they have some ideas to share as well. So what I'd like to do is open it up for discussion now, and probably for the next 5 or 6 months, I'll be reporting back to everybody and saying, okay, this is based on your priorities. This is what Epic and Bray have come up with so that you can see those things. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to the board for any questions or discussion. Don't everybody go at once.
I mean, okay, so middle school, high school, additional classrooms, the third one down. Do we have an idea of how many or where?
Yeah,
or
sure.
For what?
One idea they came up with was we were kind of targeted 3 or 4.
Okay,
One idea they had was just turning this library into 4 different classrooms, having a hallway go from that door to that door, and build a brand new library that butts up with the end of the building right now. And they thought that could be a really good architectural feature, and also gives us a chance to have a more current library. But this is really good space for either
Right.
3 classrooms or 4 classrooms. It's as big enough for 4. That one with that diagonal wall kind of cuts into it a little bit. But if we were looking at like the base relocation, their idea, and Janet's here, we would love to have one period for lunch, and we may have the seating for it. Maybe we need another serving line. So what they thought is, well, if we took Nancy's room, made that kind of an additional cafeteria space, and had a big opening there, and used Janet's storage space and had a serving line there, we could say, okay, freshmen and sophomore, you have the serving line we have right now, and eat in this cafeteria. Juniors and seniors, you eat there, and then you can go walk into Nancy's current room, which would be a cafeteria, or that long hallway that's going to be cafeteria. So those are things that they come up with once they see our list. But this could be either 3 or 4 classrooms in decent size, and then provide a brand new library. And I did tell Tina that we're talking about that, so she's got some ideas already, I'm sure.
and where would Mrs. Merwin then?
So she could actually have that whole, if we wanted to make this 3 classrooms, have 2
Got
on
it.
this side, and
Okay,
she would have
she-
the whole side. That's got an exterior wall, which, a lot of the things we need to have exterior access for ovens and things like that.
Okay,
So there we thought she might be able to have a lab and a classroom in that space, because if we kind of cut it in half, that far quadrant over there probably isn't big enough for a classroom, but it could be one larger classroom.
thank you.
Again, that's an idea. They looked at this and said, well, we could do kind of a combination of some of these.
I know in our special board meeting, we had talked about a full roof replacement, and I think that was one that the board was a little bit split on. We have the money to do it, maybe we should do it, but does our roof truly need it? Had Bray or Epic, had Bray had a chance to look back at the initial testing they had done to give us an update on that?
So imagine that there's 4 sections of our roof.
Mhm.
The middle school is one, the academic hallway here, this hallway from here all the way down, and then kind of the gym and those locker rooms. Those are the 4 sections. We're redoing this whole section. This is the section that's being done. Middle school, we don't have to touch. That's only 5 years old. So what they thought is, and we looked at the estimate for that was one, they said, it's not going to be that expensive. We're going to drop that down. We would really just be looking at the academic hallway and the gym and locker rooms. They said the gym and locker room, they estimated would last probably another 7 or 8 years for that section. And the academic hallway was put on the same time. So they thought about 7 or 8 years we could probably get out of those. But this is already in the budget. In middle school, we don't have to worry about.
Okay.
And they all come with 20-year roof replacements. One problem in redoing that Chuck brought up at our meeting today, do you really want 100% of your roof all to
Go at the
To-
same time.
to go at the same time?
No, I do not.
So that's something to consider, but it was at 2.4, and they dropped that today, looking at
So,
to 1.5.
Wasn't it there? About
Yeah.
1.4, 1.5,
Yep.
figure.
Yep.
Because they said one of them 16 years old, the other one's 17 years old, so the life expectancy is 20. Roll the dice.
Yeah.
They say schools generally can get about 5 more years out of them than the warranty goes. Which we pushed that a little bit at the elementary school, but now we don't have to worry about that. This kind of
Yeah.
thing here.
I would say the flatter the roof is, the less time it lasts.
Yeah.
The gym roof would be
They
better.
said the gym is really easy.
Yeah.
That will last for a long time because it's slanted.
Because you get more life. I don't want it to pitch, you do a flat roof.
The elementary school Catholic, I'm sorry.
Let me turn you up here, Gary. All right, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask about that kitchen cafeteria at the elementary, new versus remodel. Was that discussed today?
That was discussed, and Chuck, jump in at any time that you want to.
Okay, we decided as a group, let's repair our issue there rather than stick a lot of money into the corner building that, because we're trying to look down the road. Don't put any more money into it than we have to. By splitting the music room, we can end up with another classroom, because you don't have that big, you don't need all that space for the kids that are smaller for music.
And we don't have middle school band in there anymore.
No, so I mean, that was our decision today, Gary, to look into that and just see what it should run. We
They
figured-
thought we could redo all the pipes and all the problems with the cafeteria, kitchen, and actually art room, because we have some of that spills into the art room.
Yep.
They thought we could do that for about a quarter of the cost of the addition. The addition right now, they have that right over the top of our brand new parking lot. They could look into other areas to do that, but when they looked at that last time, that was really the only place. And right now, we like that parking lot. It seems to be working for safety and with parents. So that was, the core planning committee said that was something to really consider as a kitchen remodel versus a kitchen addition.
Not being a part of the core, go ahead, Gary.
Gary wasn't there today.
I was just gonna say that, was the cost of that then the $650 that's reflected for renovation? Is that the
Yes,
way I would take that?
that's the renovation.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Not being a part of the core planning committee, that's kind of news to me that we're talking about remodeling and
That was
slicing
just
up
something,
classrooms.
there was no decision made today.
Well,
That
just
was
to
a
be
discussion.
clear, I'd like
Yeah.
conversation to continue there.
I may have
because-
voted differently knowing that too.
Right,
Like, I
in
might
my
have
mind,
read-
it was still very much an addition was a
Right.
was a
They're
possibility.
both options.
Okay,
That group said, this is about that 20-year building, because that's why we purchased that land, is to build eventually a new elementary school. So that was just one concern they had, is do you want to put another $2 million into something that will only be there for 20 years because you're going to build new?
Right.
So that
That was our
was not,
discussion.
and that's fair.
that was a discussion. It wasn't a decision.
And the music room being split into another classroom.
We're just trying to figure out where.
I just-
where's
Leave
the-
me more on that.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out where do we get more classrooms if we need them.
Right.
Mhm.
Like if we don't do if we don't build a new cafeteria and we get a large influx of students, where can we get those? That's probably not something we would have to do this road. Basically, when they were talking about, that was probably a $15,000 project. That can probably be something that we would do in a regular year.
Mhm.
But there's not many, like, what I would like to do is take out all the portable walls and put permanent walls there. But we don't have that many extra classrooms that if we needed to go 3 sections in multiple grade levels, where we would have them. So that would be an option.
So music, and then do you know what would be on the other side of the wall? Is it a soundproof wall?
Yes.
thing?
Yeah, it would have to be, yeah.
Yeah, it would be, I'm recommending metal studs, soundboard on each side plus drywall if you have to insulate it, because it's a lot easier to wire than everything else.
Because
And
the
it looks
music is
different.
beautiful, but I just.
Yeah.
I know the year we had to split the cafeteria into 2 rooms, I just.
Yeah, and that was with a curtain.
Yes.
So this
Yeah,
would be,
Right.
what-
I
this
hoped
would
it
be
was more
permanent.
than a curtain, but I was just making sure we
Yeah.
thought of all.
Be permanent.
Yeah.
Okay, we do our best.
You
Most for the
always-
buck.
Yes, thank you.
And one discussion we had on
Is the
the
cut-
on the cafeteria extension was putting the $2 or $2.5 million into that building. And how long is it gonna last? You
Well,
know?
and I guess my concern kind of reflects, I don't want to put words in Lisa's mouth, but
Mhm.
if we potentially could see an influx of students, there's not a lot of space to carve out in a round building. We all know that. So that's where the addition was appealing to me of it, hey, that gives us some options.
We could pick up 3 classrooms, basically, is
yeah.
about all. But then we
Okay.
still have the plumbing issue that's sitting there, and the art room and everything else. I mean,
That's-
it's a no-win situation for part of that.
Yeah.
So let's address that headache
Okay.
and see what happens down the road. Maybe
I
we'll get a
appreciate
lot
you
of-
talking.
You know, I mean, it's a hard decision at this time,
Yeah.
you know, but that's a lot of money to stick into the donut.
Right.
'Cause we stuck a pile of money into it in 17, we were about what? $2.5, $3 million that we stuck into it.
The remodel would potentially get us far enough down the road to this.
It would fix the kitchen problem.
New
that
school.
we have, yeah.
Right.
Okay, I figured, but like I said, it's just nice. Thank you for explaining it.
Try to have a little more foresight down the future, you know.
We figured
Yeah.
another 3 classrooms would get us, we would be able to have 3 sections per grade level. They did say they could look at, any way you add on to a round building is gonna be a little different, but we did ask like, hey, is there any way you can attach 3 classrooms somewhere, and they'll look into that.
Would it be easier on the middle school and move 5th grade? Don't hurt me, I just wanna ask. Like, is it easier to add building or add rooms to the middle school and move 5th
Not
grade?
really with how it's
Okay.
built.
I was just like, maybe.
We didn't even think of that, you know.
Well, the other thing was, you know, St. Rose was pretty close to dropping 7th and 8th grade
Right,
last year. And what we would have had to do there is move 6th grade back down to the elementary.
Yes,
'cause
okay.
Then we would have had enough for 7th and
Not
8th, but not
Right.
6th.
I don't want that headache for anyone, I just am
No.
thinking.
It's hard to predict the future.
Which is what we're having to do right now.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
I'm only asking you
Is
to
the
be
cost of
possible.
the performing arts, is the cost of the performing arts center at 4.5, is that accurate, what they're projecting? Or is it subject to
That's a rough cost.
significant change?
So Brad believes that we could build something very similar to Potosi for that number. Bray, if we told them spend $16 million, they would build a $16 million performing arts center. So that's the number that we've given them that we're shooting for. So at this time, these are all based on estimates.
And we
Okay.
did discuss
My
today that,
reason for asking, is if you've only got about 6 million, you don't have much left after the performing arts center to do many projects.
but we also discussed today that try and set up a time where all of us go see the one at Potosi. So we got an idea what it is. We're not just talking about the sky. We're talking about, you know, something you can go see and give your opinion on it.
There's a chance also, once all the bids are done and brought in, that we would be under budget on our original budget. That would allow for more projects.
About $3 million.
Okay,
We're not gonna, we don't, because Brad's still getting some estimates, he doesn't want us to
No.
share any numbers yet.
No firm numbers.
right.
So at the special board meeting last week, Erin, you had some to scale pictures of where a softball field could potentially go.
They had a different
No.
idea,
Okay.
the
I
same
like-
area but different orientation, as long as we were okay with losing part of the sidewalk. So they're gonna draw some of that out to scale. Today, they said they're going to start working on that. But they
Lose
could
part of this sidewalk
get
or
the sidewalk that goes from the middle school down to the elementary. Either lose that or just have to redo it, yeah. They kind of had home plate by the middle school corner, and then going out in that direction towards the permanent fence would be kind of towards the field.
We're talking adding a parking lot for what, 50 vehicles by the art center.
Right where
Maybe that's another-
right now, there's a middle school recess basketball court there, so they have that as a parking lot for about 50 cars.
so as we continue with these discussions, especially something like that, that's a little bit further down on the list and may not even be a consideration.
No.
We're gonna have further discussion about like what that could potentially, because
Yeah.
I would consider it stronger depending on what they can figure out
Right.
versus cramming it in
Right.
and not having a good space or.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So what they recommended is let us get some drawings done with these, bring you back proposals for different projects, and some of them might kind of be kind of lumped together. But they have got they have a copy of kind of what the priorities are. So they thought if they get some pictures for you and they get some better cost estimates, that would be, they don't need us to make a hard decision on anything yet. And they said it could be 4 or 5 months before we need.
And once we have a better estimated cost of the Performing Arts Center, could we, as a board, then redo our list with how much money?
Oh,
Like
this was to get us started.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you things like this a lot more.
okay, because it's like, if I know how much, then my
Yeah.
priorities have completely
Right.
turned around.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense.
Okay.
I bet a lot of you did this multiple times and thinking different ways. Like if I'm thinking this, I'm gonna do it this way, but if I think of it this way with this lens, now it's gonna be different. The smiles on your face means that you had the same
Yeah.
problem
Okay,
that I
Kind of
did.
like
So
the lottery number keeps changing.
right. Just do them all.
So does that sound good? We'll get some pictures,
Yes.
get some better estimates. I think this is a good place for us to start. I don't think we need anything more here. We did have an action item on here to approve the additional scope items. I don't think we're ready to approve, nor do they need us to approve at this point. So when we get there, we don't have to do that. This is just an idea. When we're at the point where we are ready to act, I think we want pictures and we want sound budget estimates, and then we can actually take action on it. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Think, Aaron, sometime we should try and set up Brett and we could.
Yeah, would you guys like to take a tour of Potosi?
To take a road trip.
Yeah.
Just to give us an idea.
And if you, like, I've been there too, but I haven't been there thinking, oh, we might have one of these.
Right.
I've been there, so even if you've been there,
It'd be worth the trip, I mean, I've been in a lot of them, but, so we don't need to talk to Hall, it should be something that's feasible and usable and looks nice and works.
That's what they have.
that's.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I look at it as a taxpayer.
All right. Any other questions or discussion items? All right.
All right, so.
Sorry,
Troy, can you
I
grab it?
do
We
have
have
one
to
more
re-sign it and
question.
talk.
That's
Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
You mentioned the parking lot. Does that come with and included in the numbers for the Performing Arts Center here?
I believe so.
I think yes, I think
Yeah.
that's in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think there was one item for the Performing Arts Center, and then there was one for the road to get to the parking lot. And there, so that's a rounded up estimate of what the number of the work was.
Okay, and then I guess a follow-up question to that, we have the new track and artificial turf that's up there, but does that kind of come along with it if we have to, would that be tapping into the practice field?
It goes onto the practice field until we get a final drawing. It looks like it goes on there about 15, 20 yards of the
Okay.
70-yard field.
Just
And then if
thinking
we-
that might have, I mean, that is gonna be an issue if we don't have that up there,
Right.
if that's our
Because
number
that
one,
space.
right?
And then what about the potential softball field?
Great question. So if we put a permanent field right there, that means that we can no longer use that as a practice football field. And right now, the middle school football team practices behind the baseball diamond. That's not great, but it's an okay secondary site. We would probably have to resurface some of that just because it's kind of bumpy and it's not safe for kids that are moving at high school speeds. So and the reason we need to, in case anybody's wondering, if you have a turf field, why do you need a secondary practice? Because we have games there. So if there's a middle school game or a freshman game or a JV game, the other teams need somewhere to practice. And so we would have to have at least one other secondary site. And what a horrible time for Aaron Rodgers to blame his injury on field turf when we're
That's
thinking
what I
about that.
thought. I was like, oh,
I heard some groans from the crowd. That's what I thought too. Done a lot of reading. I am not a doctor, nor do I pretend to be one. I did try to read up on field turf versus natural turf. And depending on who wrote it, I mentioned this to Troy today, he goes, well, some people wrote that with an agenda. Like they want it to be this way. It's written that way. I have found for concussions, it's pretty cut and dry that it's better for concussions. For knee, hip, and ankle injuries, You can find studies that say it's better or worse. What we can't argue though is if you have a field turf field, FIAD can be out there for 7 hours during the day. We can have games and practices on there. We can have early practice, late practice. We can have 20 practices or games on there a week, and it's fine. If we get some rain, and Gary told me that at the last football game, was it your 4th football game at our field in a week?
Yeah.
With flag football, with
Yes.
middle school football, freshman, JV, and varsity. If we get rain on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and that field gets torn up, it's really rough to use, and it's hard for that to recover the rest of the season, because as we get into the season, late September and October, fields don't recover well. They just don't. So with field turf, certainly as regarding usage, you don't have to worry about those things at all. It saves some money and time on painting the fields and maintenance of the field. And talk to our buildings and grounds crew. There's a lot of times where they're down there 8 hours a day, trying to get the field ready. So as far as the injury factor, 1/3 of the schools in high school use field turf. I can't tell you there's a definitive answer, one safer than the other. I can certainly tell you for ease of use and ability to consistently use that space, it's not even close to real grass versus field turf.
And another thing that the football field will do.
FYI,
Go ahead, Gary.
board, I just sent the National Health, or National Library of Medicine, NIH article that I found while doing the field turf study as well. And it put together the 53 articles that have been published between 1972 and 2020. And there is a conclusion in there that you can read regarding injuries on turf versus grass.
Give us a short answer to that one, because I haven't read that one yet.
It says that basically it says that the higher rate of foot and ankle injuries on artificial turf, both old generation and new generation turf compared with grass. But it said the rates of knee and hip injuries are similar on grass versus turf. And that's the short conclusion.
Did it talk about concussions on there? Because I haven't found anything.
It did not.
Okay.
It did not.
Okay. Thank you for that, Gary. That sounds like a meta-analysis of a lot of the different ones that are out there. So that's helpful.
Yeah, they said there was not really any study that ever provided a comprehensive review of sports injuries on artificial turf versus grass.
For tonight, is it okay to acknowledge, like, we will have further discussions on field turf once we know
Yeah.
money after the
Yeah.
Performing Arts Center?
I think
We're not making a
we're
decision on
all
that.
we're all in agreement. We're not in a place to make a decision, and our designers and our construction managers have said we do not have to yet. So I think everything is still on the table and able to be discussed as we get new renderings and solid numbers. We will do this activity again, I promise.
More
We
than
can
that.
always say no 40-year-old quarterbacks, right?
All right, ready to move on?
Yep.
There's no one signed in to talk today.
No one signed in, so that was item 6. So we'll move on to item 7.
Yep, this is approved the resolution to adopt the Grant County Emergency Response Plan. This was part of the process that we entered into to receive the FEMA building grant that we actually got. Basically, what this means is it's an agreement within Grant County. If there is a natural disaster in another area in Grant County, we will allow that community, if they need it, to access our community, our gym box as a shelter. And that we had to approve that to be a part of this, and that's what this is today. So this is being a good neighbor resolution.
Any questions or discussion on that? Could I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the resolution to adopt the Grant County Emergency Response Plan as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes, Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
motion carried.
Are there any requests for a different time for the October board meeting? Any conflicts of anybody?
I think I'll have to be online.
And you said that annual one's the 23rd.
That's that following
The
Monday, I think,
Monday,
the
yes,
23rd. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so we can just, there's no motion there. We can just move on.
All right, so that gives us,
The Wisconsin Student Immunization Law Timeline. So part of our job is to meet DPI expectations. Last year, we did not meet this. We have to meet 99% threshold for immunization record keeping. This does not mean that everybody has to have vaccinations. Parents have one of two choices. They can either say, yep, here's proof that we have these vaccinations, or they can just sign a sheet of paper that says, I'm not going to share my child's medical information with you. Either one counts. So last year we had we didn't have information on about 20 students. That was the first time we hadn't met this DPI requirement. Adopting the student immunization law timeline would allow us to, on the 30th day of school, which is next Monday, I believe, we would contact the parents and say, listen, your child cannot come to school tomorrow unless you provide one of these two things. It says, they've already been contacted 3 times, by the way. So it's either you sign a sheet of paper and then you can bring your kid in and sign it and we take it and your kid's right back in school, or you can show us proof of vaccination. Either one counts. This is a recommendation from our school nurse. And since we didn't meet this requirement last year, this is something that both Chris and Troy tried multiple times, as did Casey Gradle, our school nurse, to try to get these families to do it. And it just did not work. So we're asking that we approve this, and that would allow us to tell those parents your child is not allowed in back to school until you sign this sheet of paper. And it's as easy as signing the sheet of paper.
Is the nurse responsible for the contacts, or it's just like a group effort?
I think she makes the first couple,
Okay.
right? And then she hands it over and then
Got
the
it.
principals make them.
Okay.
And so what we want to do is next Monday, we want to meet with Casey and say, okay,
Right.
who do we have to call and send this sheet of paper to so no one's surprised tomorrow, but all they need to do is sign it and get it back to us. Any questions about that? I know it sounds harsh, but part of our job is to meet DPI requirements.
any other discussion? Can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the Wisconsin Student Immunization Law Timeline as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Hinderman, yes. Poole,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item C,
Yep, ma'am. Approve a one-time memorandum of understanding regarding early retirement proposal. We've talked about this the last 2 years with staff. In meeting with CCEA, they asked that we bring this up a little earlier and provide some more time for our staff to do that. So, or to consider it. So we took this to the personnel committee, went through the timeline, went through the what it looks like. Basically, it's saying we're going to offer teachers with 20 years of local experience or more, $12,000 a year for 3 years. And that would be for anyone who is 55 and over. So those are stipulations. You have to be Wisconsin retirement eligible, have 20 years of local experience. And if they choose to do that, it would be a one-time MOU, not something that goes into the handbook, but something that's just offered for this 1 year. And if we go back to it again some other time, we might or we may not, depends. Right now, the potential budgetary savings for that would be about $190,000 if those people that have been here retire and we replace them with someone that is lower in the pay scale. So that's one thing that one way we're trying to offset that big financial cliff.
But they gotta be 65 years to be qualified?
55.
55.
It's this retainer in my mouth right now. You can't. 55 and 65 sounds
Probably
the same.
my hair don't work the best. It's got issues.
Any questions or discussion on that item? Would someone like to move?
I'll move to approve the one-time memorandum of understanding regarding early retirement proposal as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes. Powell,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item D, Aaron.
This is to adopt the 11 general records retention that the Wisconsin Record Board asked. So we've been following this ever since it was recommended, but now they're asking us to actually adopt something in action. But Heather and Ashley have been doing this for the last 2 years, so it's no change in what we have been doing. It just changed what we have to keep. We've been keeping everything on the list for 7 years, and then they've said, okay, some of these things don't have to be kept for 7 years. So we've been doing this for a long time, so not really any change, but we are being asked by the Wisconsin Record Board to make it a board action.
Any questions or discussion on that? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to adopt the 11 general records retention as indicated by the Wisconsin Public Records Board as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes. Powell,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item E,
Approve a new Cuba City High School boys and girls cross-country team. We currently are involved in the tryout with Benton and Southwestern. We have some of our runners here today. And we carry the vast majority of the athletes on the roster. Our middle school numbers look good. Whenever you're in a co-op or a tryout, eventually the goal is to build that program so that you no longer have to be in cooperation with those other schools. In talking with Coach Matthews and Activity Director Coach Lawson back there, they feel like this is the time. We've been talking about this for about 5 years here, and we've been waiting until the numbers are good. And when you have coaches who are good at recruiting and making things fun, that certainly helps, and we have that. So it's a recommendation of Coach Lawson and our middle school cross-country coaches and our head track coach that we form our own Cuba City High School cross-country team.
and are we in a current agreement with them right now? And when does that run out?
It has to be signed or not signed by the end of this month, right?
But yes, October 1st, so we are in a little bit of a rush, and Southwestern Benton are aware that we are meeting tonight. It's a 2-year renewal, so if we would have to sign, we would sign to renew, we're in it for 2 more years, so we're at that window right now.
Thank you.
But then we could go back if needed. Like, not that I want that, but just making sure, are we out? We're out?
We're out.
We have no,
We have no
Interest
guarantee that we
going
would be
back.
allowed back in that partnership.
Okay.
don't read between the lines.
Yes, ma'am. Got it. Thank you.
Now that it's on social media.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Because you provided some numbers just for the history. Knowing with cross country, is it you need 5 men and 5 women to run as a team?
To score.
To score as a team, excuse me, yeah. So if we're sitting at 10, like one injury, that team could be out. I guess I just want your opinion on like, are the numbers truly strong enough? Cross country is a hard sport. People can drop or injuries happen. So I just want to be sure we're not walking away from a long-term partnership to see in 2 years the sport unfortunately goes away for some athletes because we can't go back.
The sustainability looks really good, and it has for a while with the middle school program up and running. And the inline coaching, which we'd like to have between cross country and track.
Yeah.
We have the right people involved with that. And it's one of those situations that when kids talk, because we have some students real close to me here that aren't running this year, and they would if it was a standalone program based on difference in coaching philosophy, the fact that you don't have to travel, you're in Division III, which is where we belong in our enrollment, all of those things. Kim has, we've talked multiple times on the interest of students right now in our own high school I know they can say this, but that are in track and not cross-country,
Mhm.
that would be maybe interested if we hosted and practice was here on our new track and our turf football field. And we're not asking for anything special. We just need you to say yes.
Well, and to clarify, Megan, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, you can still compete individually, whether you have a team or not. So if you had two
Absolutely.
people out,
You
they could
just don't
still
score
compete.
as a team.
Right.
Right.
Our goal would always be to have a team compete as a team. But yes, I mean, there are plenty of schools in the state of Wisconsin that have one or two runners that aren't co-op or tryout. That go.
Thanks. I appreciate getting that context. It's just,
Absolutely.
I
The
know.
biggest pull
yeah.
is that the JV team will always compete no matter how many runners we have.
Okay.
So we only have varsity, up to 7 or 8 on varsity, but then everybody else on the team will get to compete. So that's the big draw for a lot of
Yeah.
athletes.
Any other questions or discussion on that item? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the new Cuba City High School boys and girls cross-country team as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Linderman, yes. Pohl,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank
you.
You guys are welcome to stay, but I know you came for that part. So if you wanted to head out, we would not have any judgment. But you're certainly welcome to stay. Don't feel bad. We understand.
Thanks for
Thanks
coming.
Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you, guys.
Item F.
Yeah, approve a comprehensive training center contract with, for DPI writing grant. This is a new grant that came out for mental health of students. And we were contacted by a company that's from Texas that has done this successfully in other states. And went through kind of what our needs were and to make sure that looking at behavioral interventionists, which we had a couple of years ago, which budgetarily we did not keep it. But it's certainly something that I think would be beneficial at both campuses. And depending on how the grant is dispersed, it's a competitive grant. Minimum is 200,000, maximum is 450,000. There's a chance that we could get one or two of those, and it would be a 3-year grant, and it would cover, that's per year. So that would cover a behavioral interventionist, either one that would be K-12 or two that would be, one would be 4K-5 and the other would be 6-12. So to write the grant, it's $0. If we do get the grant, they get 12% of it. That's how it's written. So there's no problem in us. If we write it and we don't get it, we're not out anything. But as Chris said, I'd rather have 88% of something than 0% of nothing. And Megan did ask, well, we had really good luck with Jordan. Does he write these? Jordan doesn't write these. Jordan only writes FEMA grants. So, but this company has been successful in, I think it was 11 different states for this. Wisconsin's about 18 months behind other states. So they've had time to do that. And I was on a listserv that they contacted me and we set up a time to meet. And I think this is a really good opportunity for us and very low risk.
Any other questions of Aaron?
You know, I have some questions. So after the 3 years, it's just like, see you later. Do we have a hard time recruiting people for a temporary position? Not that I don't think we should do the
Right.
grant, but just what do you do if they come in, provide a successful program and then,
Yeah, then it comes back to this group. Like,
Okay.
do we want to continue with that? But after 3 years, we'll be able to say, these are the benefits of 3 years.
okay,
Do
that
we
makes
want,
sense.
do we want to keep this?
We'd have some data. Okay,
And with other schools that I know that have had grant, like counselors and things, it's really an individual basis. So the people that show that they do a really good job,
Right.
they try to find a way that we can keep them.
thank you.
Yeah.
Was that a question, Gary?
Nope, that was somebody outside of the room, I think.
You having a party or what?
Right.
I think it was a loud yawn.
All right, so any other questions or comments on that item? Would someone like to move?
I'll move to approve the comprehensive training center contract. for DPI grant writings as presented.
I will second. Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We can skip through G,
Skip item G,
go on to personnel.
on to personnel.
That's approved the hiring of Gabrielle Druska, elementary school, middle school guidance counselor. This position was created originally when Amelia Hook left, and then we had somebody else for 2 days, and they left to go to a different, one day. And then we were fortunate enough to find Gabrielle, and she's doing a wonderful job.
Would someone like to move?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Gabrielle Dreska, ESMS guidance counselor as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item B, Aaron.
Approved the hiring of Kristen Callis, middle school paraprofessional. This position was filled when someone retired, and we're filling that position.
Questions or comments? Could I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Kristen Camus, CCMS paraprofessional as presented.
I will second. Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item C, Aaron.
Approved the hiring of Kara Rico, elementary school paraprofessional. This position is new for a student that moved in the district.
Any questions, comments? Would someone like to move?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Kara Rico, CCES paraprofessional as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item D, Aaron.
Approved Cuba City High School second shift custodian Robert Hooks. This position was posted about 5 months ago, and we feel that Mr. Hooks will be a great addition to our custodial team. And he's really enjoyed working here the last two nights and has said that everybody's been really nice.
Could I get a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve the Cuba City High School custodian Robert Hooks as presented.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes. Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
One thing we did differently with that, we tried all the traditional ways of hiring. And we posted it in the Tri-County Press, and we posted in the shopping news in different places. What worked for us is we told staff, if you give us a recommendation, we'll give you $1,000 bonus, because that's about what it costs for us to run the ads for Tri-County Press and the shopping news. And that person's still employed after a year, you get a bonus. And man, that night we had a bunch of things go out on social media, but that's where this came from. So I'd rather spend that money and do that so our staff can get that benefit instead of, pushing out. I'm not sure how many people were looking in there, and we didn't get a lot of action from there, but it was real quick after we did that with staff. So big thank you goes to Nancy Davies who posted that Robert's office.
Is there a law on how you post jobs? Do you have to post equally?
We do have to, we should post it because that's what our policy says. Legally, we don't have to post things like that, but we always do because it makes sense.
Right.
We can post those, but we can post them up in our office and push it out on social media. But those are free. But I think we might go in this direction more frequently because that's better for our staff, and if that's more efficient and effective, and it's better for us and it's better for staff members, that just makes sense.
Sure.
Hopefully we don't need any more.
True. That would be easy, right? Yeah.
Well, thank you for thinking outside the box on that, Aaron. Next is item E.
Yep, approved the hiring of Adam Dixon as Assistant Building and Ground Director. He's been here a couple days too and really enjoying it. And after that was posted and had a lot of really good candidates come in here, Adam is the candidate that we'll bring to you to approve.
Any questions or comments about Adam? Could I have a motion then?
I'll move to approve the hiring of Adam Dixon as Assistant Buildings and Grounds Director as presented.
I'll second.
Mueller,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Schrader,
Yes.
Kinderman, yes, Poll,
Yes.
Bowden,
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carried.
On the committee reports.
Yep, Budget and Finance, we met Wednesday, July 26th. I think our next one is October 11th. Was that the date? We've got another one coming up on October. Buildings and Grounds, we met July 19th. Chuck and I talked today to see if we need another one, and if we get some items, we'll have another one of those coming up. Personnel, we last met September 13th, last week, and we've got another one scheduled for, I believe, October 4th. Policy, I haven't heard anything, but usually we get a policy update around October. Technology and Transportation, we meet monthly with our transportation providers at Datus. So after our second meeting in October, we'll probably have a Technology and Transportation Committee over at their site. So you can see where that is and get a tour of their facility and all their buses. And then Foundation will probably meet in January, February. Gary, did you have anything for CISA 3?
I don't.
All right.
Item 11.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate you taking the time. Happy anniversary.
Thank you, everybody.
Happy anniversary, Gary.